Right into it. Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're taking a hard look at how our very own minds might actually be the absolute biggest hurdle to a healthy workplace. We're exploring this really fascinating overlap between critical thinking and office politics, and we'll see exactly how the logic inside your head directly shapes the culture of your entire office.
So tell me if this sounds familiar. Have you ever wondered how a room full of incredibly intelligent, highly capable professionals can just collectively steer a project right off a cliff? I mean, it happens all the time, right? Smart teams make absolutely terrible decisions. And the crazy thing is, the root cause usually isn't a lack of data. It's actually a complete breakdown in how we process that data and, well, how we interact with each other.
To figure this out, we've broken it down into 4 parts. 1. The foundations of critical thinking. 2. Spotting logical fallacies. 3. The toxicity of office politics. And 4. Practicing guileless openness. We're basically going to map this out from the inside out, starting right inside your own brain and zooming all the way out to your organizational culture.
Okay, let's start micro. Section 1. Foundations of critical thinking. We need to build up your mental toolkit.
There are 5 top critical thinking skills that form our very first line of defense against workplace dysfunction. We're talking about observation, analysis, inference, communication, and problem solving. But here's the catch. You have to actively practice them. They aren't just empty corporate buzzwords you can throw around in an email. They're an actual sequential process. You observe a problem. You analyze the facts objectively. You infer the potential causes. You communicate effectively with your stakeholders, and then you execute a strategy to solve it.
Now, think about the crucial difference between observation and inference. Observation is simply noticing that a car engine is stalling. But inference? That's acting like the mechanic who actually guesses the hidden cause based on those limited clues. Observation is just your starting line. Inference forces you to slow down, process what you're seeing, and make highly educated guesses without just jumping to wild conclusions. Because if you rush that step, your solutions are going to completely miss the mark.
But what happens when that critical thinking starts to crack? Let's move to Section 2, Spotting Logical Fallacies and Defending Yourself Against Cognitive Errors.
You see, when we skip that rigorous analysis we just talked about, cognitive errors completely hijack our logic. These are known as logical fallacies, and there are 7 really common ones that ruin projects. Have you ever just coasted and thought, well, we've always done it this way? That's an appeal to tradition. Or maybe you've been distracted by a shiny red herring. You know, like a developer hyper-focusing on the great shopping nearby instead of the glaring fact that they're building an apartment complex on a literally sinking marsh. It's crazy. And then there's the hasty generalization, like assuming a trout fishing lure is going to sell like crazy in a desert just because a tiny test group happened to love it. These aren't just silly little mistakes, they directly ruin business decisions.
And here is a fantastic quote to remember. Ignorance isn't proof. The point here is that just because a project's objective hasn't been achieved before, it doesn't mean it's impossible. Ignorance merely means you don't know something yet. It is absolutely not proof of failure. Oh, and another one, we shouldn't just blindly trust a TV spokesperson over actual hard data. That's an argument from authority. We literally have to be on guard and defend our logic every single day.
So we zoom out. Section 3. The toxicity of office politics. What actually happens when these fallacies go to work?
When unchecked cognitive failures infect a whole team, things get messy fast. Office politics is essentially a chaotic, ego-driven nightmare. Picture a high-stakes board meeting, maybe for a nonprofit, that just slowly descends into this petty status game. Once huge egos and hidden motives walk into the room, decisions suddenly become all about who pitched the idea, rather than the actual merit of what was said.
And when your core mission fades into the background, 3 highly toxic symptoms pop up. First, status building. Suddenly, you've got people walking into a meeting late on purpose just so they can take 8 minutes to brag about their recent liquidity events. Second, power wielding. Colleagues start name-dropping who supports their idea instead of actually defending why it's a good idea. And third, resource competition. This is where basic budget decisions turn into these incredibly ugly, personal tests of loyalty. But wow, prepare yourself for this humbling psychological truth. There's this 50-year-old study by a researcher named Fred Fiedler. It's called the Least Preferred Coworker Study. He found that the magnitude of your harsh criticism toward your coworkers actually says way more about you than it does about them. In the study, the people who completely ripped into their colleagues with the absolute harshest adjectives unwittingly proved that they themselves were the most difficult people to get along with. Think about that for a second.
It perfectly illustrates this idea.
Those who spend the most time cursing the darkness are the least likely to be holding a candle. Look, we are very often the problem. Recognizing our own complicity in the political garbage we claim to hate is the very first step to fixing it. If you're sitting in a meeting silently rolling your eyes, or you're out secretly plotting in the hallways, guess what? You are actively contributing to the exact organizational drag you're complaining about.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, Practicing Guileless Openness. This is the cure for the disease.
Since office politics run almost entirely on secrecy and manipulation, radical transparency is basically its absolute kryptonite. This concept is called guileless openness. It means taking a hard look in the mirror and exposing your own motives first, before you even think about evaluating anybody else's. You're eliminating the secrecy. You can't use this as a weapon against your team, okay? You have to practice it as your own personal standard of integrity.
So how do we actually do this? Let's break it down into 3 actionable steps you can take to become a leader who cures this disease. Start with heart, abandon collusion, and own the meeting.
Step 1 is to start with heart. This means mission over ego. You literally have to check your ego at the door and make completely sure that the mission of your organization is always prioritized over your own personal reputation or your desperate need to be right. You have to stop and ask yourself honestly, what do my actions say I really truly want here?
Step 2, you have to abandon collusion completely. The rule is, if you put it in my brain, you must assume I will act on it. Refuse to participate in those sneaky, post-meeting coffee debriefs. Demand open accountability instead of just whispering in the hallway. If someone comes to you with a secret grievance, you need to make it crystal clear that you intend to act on it transparently. No more back-channel lobbying, period.
And finally, step 3, own the meeting. The mantra here is, if I am acting it out, I'll talk it out. Stop acting like a victim and be a co-creator. If someone goes off on a wild tangent, politely ask to steer things back to the main topic. If you feel this heavy frustration building up inside you, go public with it politely, right there in the room, so the group can't avoid the sensitive stuff anymore. If you're feeling tense, just state it openly. Own it.
So here's what it all comes down to. Are you curing your workplace culture, or are you part of the disease? Start with yourself. Challenge your own logic. Before you walk into your very next meeting, ask yourself, am I truly evaluating the facts, or am I falling victim to logical fallacies? Am I actually trying to advance the mission, or am I just desperately trying to protect my status? Because true critical thinking doesn't just solve a business problem, it literally clears the toxic air right out of the room. Think about that.